this is Simon. Welcome to the Trained Ferret. If you are new here, I wanted to do a video today on teaching your ferret not to bite. So Simon here, who is enjoying some salmon oil, is 6 months old. He is an intact male ferret. He's privately bred from Novel Beginnings Ferretry out of Pennsylvania. And he is really big and muscular. He is 5.28 pounds, so he is a little bit different to train than a Marshall ferret. The methods will still work for both, but a Marshall ferret tends to be fixed at around 6 weeks when they're very young, so they're a little bit smaller and less hormones to deal with. As far as bite training goes, I believe there's more than one way to train a ferret not to bite. I do believe that, every ferret is different, and so you have to pay attention to their differences. And my approach is actually a mixed methods approach. I'm going to go through the different methods that I use, and then I'll talk about different situations or different, when different methods are appropriate depending on your situation. So let's get started. Okay, so Simon didn't want to be part of this section of the video, which is fine. He has a lot of energy. He's only 6 months old. So let's get started talking about the different methods that I use when teaching a ferret not to bite. So the first method that I use is spending quality time with your ferret. The first way you can do this is to handle them. Now, I know it's really exciting when you first get a ferret. You just want to handle them all the time, but give them a minute. Let them get some energy out, let them play, and then once they have relaxed a little bit, put on some gloves, put on some thick socks if you want to, and then handle them. That way they don't have so much pent-up energy and you're less likely to get bitten. I would do short little sessions at first, especially if the ferret appears stressed. You don't want to keep holding them if they are freaking out. So just make sure that you start slow. I know it's exciting when you have that new baby, but just take your time because you want them to enjoy being handled. Now, if you want to do this, I would also say keep them in a very calm environment while you're handling them. You don't want a lot of loud noises or like kids running around screaming. You want it to be really relaxed for them because you don't want them to associate being held with chaos. They're not going to want to be held. Also, it's important that if your ferret comes up and bites you on the foot or something, you don't immediately pick them up because you don't want them to associate, oh, if I bite them, pick me up, in case they really like the handling. So just be mindful of that. The second way to spend quality time with your ferret is just to bond with them. This doesn't necessarily only mean handling them. It can mean just talking to them, being present, just being in the same room with them, getting them used to your scent. So maybe give them an old t-shirt or something like that to put in the cage so they can get used to that smell. There is an excellent video by the Modern Ferret on bonding, so I will actually put the link to that video in the description and you can go check that out if you need some ideas. So the third way to spend quality time is training. Of course, I love training. It's what my channel is about. I like trick training with my ferret to develop that bond. It's part of bonding, and it just is a fun time that you can spend with your ferret. It doesn't matter if they know a ton of tricks. Just try to hang out with them, do what you can, and it's just a great way to spend time with them. Training can also be a way to redirect a ferret. Now, redirecting is the second way that I like to teach a ferret not to bite. So what is redirecting? Redirecting is basically teaching your ferret to do this instead of biting me, right? So if your ferret is running around and hyper and they come up and bite you, or better yet, they come up and you know they're going to bite you, you redirect them to do something else. You get a toy and you shake it and let them bite on the toy. Or if they're running up to you and you know, oh gosh, they're probably gonna bite me, you roll a ball away from you and they chase it. And when they chase it or when they bite on the toy, you go, yay, that's so great, and you make a big fuss. You want them to know that biting is not what I want. I want you to play with your toys. I want you to chase the ball. That's the behavior that I am wanting you to do. So I know that I said that ideally when you know they're about to bite, and you know that can be tough. It does take time to study what your ferret does before they bite. So Simon will sometimes lick me before he bites. He'll sometimes nose my pant leg. He'll sometimes walk kind of like puffed out. So start to study your ferret's behavior patterns, and you can probably start to pick up, if you pay attention, on the way that they act before they bite. Now, training can come into this as well. All right, so I'm a training nerd. We know this. I like to teach my ferret to target train. So target can be my hand, and what I mean by that is if I say, Simon, touch, he will walk over and touch his nose to my hand. This is a great tool if I know, oh, here he comes, he's about to bite my ankle. I can move my hand away from my body and away from my ankle and say touch. He moves away from me, I go, yay! And now his mind is thinking about that instead of what he was thinking about before, which was biting me. So there's also training, like sticks, like target training sticks. They look like this. This is another way you can do it. Instead of, if you don't want to use your hand as the target, you teach the ferret to touch their nose to the end of this. And that will allow you to also get them to follow it once they know they're supposed to touch their nose to it. And same thing. If he comes up and I think he's gonna bite, I use this, have him follow it away from me, and then throw a toy, roll a ball, yay! And that way he's engaged in something else other than biting. So that is redirecting. Let's talk about the third method that I use, which is desensitization. Now, with Simon, I know he is obsessed with my ankles. All right, I've already mentioned it. I don't know what it is. Joey was not this way, or my one before, but ankle man, I guess. I don't know. So when he is tired, when he is relaxed, I will take my sock off and put my foot over there next to him. And if he does not react and does not bite, yay, what a good boy! In hopes that he will start learning that ignoring my ankle, since I know it's such a big thing for him, gets praise and happiness, and hopefully it will kind of get him over it. I mean, if I show him my ankle over and over, it's not going to be as exciting, is my hope. All right, so method 4 that I use when teaching a ferret not to bite. I will get some pushback on this. A lot of people don't like this one, and that's okay if you're not comfortable with it. You don't have to do it at all. I use scruffing and timeouts sometimes. It's not something that I use a lot. I am mainly using it on intact hormonal male ferrets. And I think people have kind of their own idea of what scruffing is. So in a minute, I'm going to get Simon and show you what it means to me and how I do a scruff. So this is just a method that has worked for me in the past. So let me go get Simon so I can show you. So let's see, if I put Simon here and he bites me, because he probably will, because he's licking me, I say no, scruff him, put him down. Try to redirect him to something else. All right, if he comes back and he bites me again, same thing. No, scruff, put him in a timeout. Okay, a timeout is 2 to 5 minutes. I tend to put him in a kennel because I don't want him to think of his cage negatively. And he's not going to be in the timeout thinking about what he did, thinking, gee, I'll never do that to my owner again. No, the timeout doesn't really teach not to bite, but it drops the energy level and gets him to stop fixating on biting. All right, once he comes out of the timeout, everything is back to normal. You don't bring negativity toward him. You just go about your day. All right, it's real important to not hold on to any kind of negative, oh, you just bit me. No, you just go about your day like it didn't happen. Now, the scruff that I just showed you was not cruel. All right, I just removed him from me safely. It is safe for me to do that, because if I didn't, especially with a large male like Simon, who's very muscular, he can flail around and bite more. So I use this mainly on males who are intact and hormonal. They tend to fixate more than other ferrets on biting. I'll go over this a little bit more in a few minutes. Now, which method should you use? That's the next question. I think it's important that you study your ferret, because biting is a form of communication, right? Now, you might want to figure out, what is your ferret doing? How are they feeling? So, are they afraid, right? So, if you have a ferret that's brand new, maybe you just got him from a rescue, maybe he's from a pet store, just think about it. You're a little ferret. You're in a brand new home. These people are huge. You're unsure about everything. And then this really large person comes in and reaches in the cage. What might you do if you're scared? You might bite. That's the only defense you have as a little animal sometimes. So with fear biting, I would think you would really need to focus on bonding with your ferret. Give them some space, maybe talk to them more, get, around them as much as possible, let them be around your scent, things like that. I personally do not have experience training an animal that's afraid. In all of my years of training, all the animals that I've dealt with have had a very stable upbringing. So if you're someone from a rescue or anywhere that's had a lot of experience with fear biting, please comment below on what has worked for you. So for animals that are afraid, I would recommend spending a lot of time bonding with the ferret and redirecting. I wouldn't use this scruffing with them, that might freak them out or scare them. Try to avoid that if you can. So the other thing, maybe they're playing, right? Maybe you just got a baby ferret and they're like, whoa, life is amazing, I'm playing. And baby ferrets, just like puppies, just like kittens, they are using their mouth to explore their world, okay? They're just everything in the mouth. That's just how it is. And I would handle those ferrets a lot when they're tired, getting them used to you. I would also work on bonding because they're brand new to your household. Redirect as much as you can to a toy. Now, personally, I do not play with my ferrets with my hands and feet. I know a lot of people like to do this kind of stuff or slide their feet around on the carpet. I personally avoid playing with my ferrets that way. I use like toys. I'll use cat wands, I'll roll balls across the floor, I'll do blanket rides, like a towel ride. So, towels on the floor, they get on it, you pull them around. I try to avoid them biting at my hands and feet, at least until they're older, or like Simon, until he's fixed, because that will help alleviate some of that baby play biting. Now, a lot of ferrets will outgrow the baby play biting, so you might just want to manage the biting until they're a little bit older. So for example, when I got Simon, I have no idea why, but when I would put him in his hammock in his cage, he would bite. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what just happened, but it was a consistent pattern, and it was when he was very young. So instead of trying to correct that, so to speak, and like get fuss at him or something, I just changed what I did. So instead of putting him in the hammock, I just set him on the ramp in the cage toward his food. And then he would just go toward his food, and I closed the door. It avoided that biting experience. And now that he's older, he doesn't do it anymore. So if you have situations like that, it might just be kind of just manage it until they're a little bit older, kind of a thing. So what if you're not sure? What if you're like, I have no idea why my ferret is biting me, can't figure it out? I would start with all of the quality time things that I talked about before and the redirecting. All right, so all the quality time, spend time with them, redirect them when they bite, see if that's working. I would use, the scruffing and timeout as a last resort, but if they fixate, on you too much, then you might need to try that, Every ferret is different, and so you can't just rely on one thing to get the job done. I want to touch on hormonal biting again. Granted, this is not a large amount of ferrets in the United States. There, maybe in the world, you have more people dealing with ferrets that are intact when you're training. They're just a little bit different. It's nothing wrong. It's just that they do tend to get in kind of a biting mode. I don't know how else to describe it, but Joey did it, and now Simon is doing it. The breeder said it is common when they're going into their first season. So what I do with him is, you saw earlier when he bit me, scruff him, no, redirect him, all right? He has, because he's hormonal, and he has this little otter, okay? This is his little girlfriend that I tend to redirect him to when I feel that he is hormonal biting. And this can be a replacement for my arm or whatever he is fixated on. Now, advice for all of this is that you cannot get emotional while bite training your ferret. It is so much easier said than done. If a ferret is biting you, you're not going to be like, yay! You're going to get frustrated. You just have to know that it will get better. And all ferret owners, well, not all, but a lot of ferret owners go through this. It is common. They are communicating, the ferret is communicating with you the way they know how, but we just have to work with them on it. Now, if you're struggling and you're getting a temper with your animal, put them in a safe place like their cage or something and just take a break, all right? Yelling at them will not help, because bonding is so important in training. So if you're yelling at them, guess what? You're probably going to be hurting that bond that you had created with that animal, and they may not want to work with you as much, right? So bonded animals are going to be easier to train. If you cannot do this, if you're feeling so enraged by your ferret, then please contact a shelter, talk to them, if you need to rehome them, or if you just, maybe you really want to change. Shelters have a lot of experience dealing with behavioral issues, and they can probably give you more advice. Again, I've never had a ferret with fear issues. So the shelter people might be able to help you, because it may not be as straightforward as, you know, what I'm giving you. I'm going off working with ferrets that have not had behavioral problems or fear problems. So ferrets do need consistency, just like anything else with training. They need consistency and no emotion. You cannot be emotional. I do not believe that it is appropriate to abuse an animal in any way. Hitting, throwing, nose flicking, any of these things. You just don't do that. Some people will throw scruffing in there, but I disagree that scruffing is cruel. Scruffing is safe, in my opinion, the way I do it. But do not abuse a ferret. It is not okay. If you cannot control yourself, again, contact a rescue. The only way you are going to give that animal a fair shot is to keep your cool and to train consistently. I will end this with saying, do not expect fast progress. All right. I'm still working with Simon on this. I've had him since he was 3 months. He is now 6 months. You just saw him bite my arm. I mean, he is improving, but it does take a while, especially with intact ferrets. I've had people write to me being so angry that their, 12-week-old ferret is still biting. It's like, guess what? That's a baby. Babies explore the world with their mouth. So it's going to take time. You need to realize, if you get a baby ferret, that it's going to be work. It's not going to be something that you can just do in a week. I actually prefer trick training to this kind of training, because this is removing a bad behavior. This takes longer than, training a trick. So that's what I have. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have advice or experience or anything that is not abusive, I will delete comments about ways that training has worked where ferrets have been abused. It's not appropriate or okay. But if you have other methods, please share them. Again, I think there are a lot of ways to do the same thing, and I want to hear about them. So please comment. Please subscribe to my channel if you've liked what you've heard, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.